Hello, everyone. We're about to start the class, this last session of the Rabbi series organized by the Rabbi JCC. And this is my time to provide some teaching that we can hopefully study together, to get inspired together, and to get something that is good for our lives, good for our souls. So it's great. I'm so grateful that Rabbi had this initiative to bring this Rabbi series so we can give Judaism a chance to inspire our lives. This is something that I learned in Shavuot, and I share with my congregation the fact that we seem to give every discipline around the world a chance to improve our lives, but we totally ignore what Judaism has to say to help us become better people. Isn't that amazing? We totally discard and disregard all these wonderful things that we have within Judaism, so we can hopefully study something together today. So let's see who is here. Hi, Judy. We have already one person. Hi, Roberto. Welcome. Let's see if you are connected, if you have the chat in front of you, please send me a message so we can interact. I cannot promise you that I can see every message during my presentation, but eventually at the end we are going to go to a question and answer part. Hopefully we'll have time to do that. Hi, that's Telma Suris, TG Suris. Is that Telma? Is that you? Sometimes names on Facebook are kind of tricky. Hi, Rochelle. Hello. So good. Yeah, I wish you could see my setting here. It's kind of interesting. Hopefully everything will go well. Hi, Lori. Welcome. So let's begin. I don't want to run out of time with this. So the sooner we start, the better, right? So hello everyone, and I'm Rabbi Anibal from congregation Shari Zedek. And you have my email there if you ever want to reach me. And if you have questions after this, you can also contact me. Hello, Elaine. Elaine. One day I will learn how to pronounce it properly. How, Pauline? Evison, good to see you there. So, yeah, we are going to go for the next about probably 45 minutes, and then we are going to have questions and answers. But this 45 minutes, it reminds me to a joke that there was this man who's been going to a psychiatrist for the last 5 years. And one day, he went to a lecture from a rabbi. It was a 45-minute lecture. And after the lecture, he went to talk to the rabbi in tears. And this man said to the rabbi, Rabbi, I've been going to therapy for the last 5 years. And in 45 minutes, you changed my life. How do you do that? And the rabbi said, easy. Your therapist has to listen to you. I don't. So hopefully we can go kind of uninterrupted for 45 minutes. Pay attention to what I have to say. And who knows, might be something that it can change your life. Now, this is the interesting thing. Let me go here. It's why did I pick this topic? Because when Rabbi contacted the rabbis to prepare material to present in this rabbi series, each one of us pretty much has the freedom to choose whatever we wanted. And I always wanted to talk anxiety because, you see, this is what happened. I believe this is a very fast-paced world. Lots of performance pressure. Sometimes I like to do a Google search to find out what people are looking for. And that helps me to prepare my sermons, my classes. Do something. Sometimes you can try this. There is a feature in Google that is called autofill. And that is when you start typing and Google will try to complete your sentence before you finish it, right? And that is based on the number of searches. So it depends what people search. People will adjust permanently and it will try to complete your search. So one day I just was typing what makes me, and you see you have there a screenshot from my phone. And it basically, pretty much the first thing was what makes me anxious. Then was what makes me angry, what makes me feel sick. But number one was what makes me anxious. So that means that at the time that I did that search was something that the top one what people were searching on Google. So today we will try to figure out how to go from anxiety to calm confidence. I'm going to talk to you as a rabbi, by the way, okay? And I will present ways to bring calm and peace of mind back to our lives from a Jewish perspective. And the first thing I have to tell you as a rabbi is that the best way to overcome anxiety is believing in and trusting God. Because believing is not enough. You have to trust that there is a master plan for the world and that God has you in the palm of God's hand. That God is in control and nothing is a surprise to God. That is something very important to understand. Believe and trust that life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. So, let me make something clear. Hello, Alice. I just saw your name there. This is not a motivational class. I know the way it sounds like, right? I don't pretend to be a motivational speaker. This is not a motivational class. It's supposed to be a transformational class. That's my goal. I hope we can go there. You have to start by transforming your mind. Because I believe the biggest obstacle people have in these days is in their minds. A person with anxiety has this constant worry. It makes it very difficult to focus. You have to learn first to trust God. You see, we just finished the holiday of Shavuot, and something that I learned in Shavuot is what is this receiving of the Torah that we celebrate. The rabbis understand the giving of the Torah as the moment where we entered in a marriage contract with God. With God is the groom, Israel is the bride, and the Torah is like the ketuvah that God gave us. And from there on, we established this relationship with God. Now, imagine, let's use this image of the marriage. Imagine you're married to a person that you don't trust. Imagine how your life would be. Take a minute. You couldn't sleep, right? You would start thinking, he's late. Is he cheating on me? Where is she? She's not answering my call. Who is with her? You can try and be positive, but if you don't trust the person, it's going to drive you crazy. So the most important thing for this class is to talk about trust. Without the core trust, you have nothing. You can't fix a thought if you don't have trust. People always ask me, how can I don't worry? And I tell them what I'm about to tell you. The problem with worrying is that every time you worry, you're pushing away something coming to you. Think about that. Have you ever tried to do business with an anxious person? I wish I could see your faces now. If you have trust in God, everything else is resolved. If you don't have trust, you have absolutely nothing to push you through the day. If you don't trust in your partner, you won't have peace. That's a fact. You have to be obsessed with trust in God. You have to go all in. You see, something that I learned in these last few months is we have very little control over our lives. You can't control the coronavirus. You can't control the economy. You have to work on yourself. Imagine this. It's like you shoot the arrow, right? Then it's up to God where it goes. So this trusting in God is what we call emunah, or faith. And Rabbi Nachman of Breslov speaks about 3 levels of faith. And this is actually was said by Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, but I learned it through Rabbi Shalom Arush, through his book, The Garden of Emunah. Actually, recently we had a group at the Sher Zedek. We studied the book together. It's very interesting concept, very challenging things. So basically, what Rabbi Nachman says that there are basically 3 levels of emunah. We start with the basic level, right? It's the belief that everything comes from God. Then you have the intermediate level, and that is not only that everything comes from God, but everything is for the very good. And then you have the upper level, that you believe that everything comes from God, everything is for the very good, but everything has a purpose. And there is a way for you eventually to understand the purpose of things that are happening around you. So that way you can understand God's will and God's expectations from you in this life. Okay? So I believe it's a full-time job to reach the upper level. You can't just go there. You have to wrestle with each one of these 2 first level until you can reach that 3rd one. If you don't take it as a full-time, then your emunah is going to be flawed. And if your emunah is flawed, if your faith is flawed, you're going to fall into one of the 7 categories I will mention during this class in a few minutes. Okay? There are going to be 7 categories, but what you have to understand that all these 7 categories that I'm going to talk about in this class are actually subcategories of lack of trust and lack of emunah. If you have emunah, if you have faith, if you trust in God, if you believe that everything is coming from God and everything is for very good and there is a purpose on everything, then if you are there, if you believe that, feel free to leave this class. There is nothing else you're going to learn. But if you feel that you are not there yet, it's because you're going to be connected. You're going to feel connected to at least one of the 7 categories that I'm going to mention. But you have to understand that if you fall into one of those categories, my understanding is that is because your emunah is flawed. Okay? So to help navigate this class, we are going to take one chapter of the book of Psalms. In this case, Psalm 139. And that psalm, I like it because it also reflects in one way or another each one of these 7 categories that we are going to study. So let's go into the psalm first. So Psalm 139 is talking, of course, about King David, that most of the Psalms are. And we're going to learn that King David was a confident person, but at the same time, he was very open to his struggles with the lack of trust in God. He had a very dynamic personality. So you will see many different Psalms that he goes from confident to anxious, and from anxious to confident within one single psalm. And we will see how confident people see life as a challenge, but anxious people see life as a threat. We will see these 2 aspects reflected in the life of King David. So while you strengthen your emuna, it is important to expand your wisdom at the same time. When you don't have knowledge, you suffer. All suffering, I believe, is also lack of knowledge. That's why I'm obsessed with wisdom. You can't get out of a problem if you don't have the brain to get out of the problem. So let's read some of this psalm. Let's see what the Psalm 39 says. For the leader, a psalm of David. You have looked deep into my heart, Hashem, and you know all about me. You know when I'm resting or when I'm working, and from heaven you discover my thoughts. You notice everything I do and everywhere I go. Before I even speak a word, you know what I will say. And with your powerful arm, you protect me from every side. I can't understand all of this. Such wonderful knowledge is far above me. Wow. Here we see a King David who knows that God is with him at every step of the way. He has perfect trust in God. So how can a person with such emuna be in distress at all, right? To have peace of mind, you have to build a relationship with God. And we all know that a healthy relationship is based on trust. So David seems to be all ready to go and enjoy a life that is worry-free, right? That's not the reality. Let's jump ahead on the Psalm, verse 19. Now he says, how I wish that you will kill all cruel and heartless people and protect me from them. They're always rebelling and speaking evil of you. You know I hate anyone who hates you, Lord, and refuses to obey. They are my enemies too, and I truly hate them. Well, here came the shift. Now, this King David, this person, who a minute ago seems to be the ideal of faith and trust, is in distress. And I believe this happens because David is focusing on external factors. He's bothered by the circumstances like if they were out of God's control. You have to believe in God all times, not almost all the time. But there is another shift. Now he's going to move from his external enemies to the inner me. But can you see that? And how in this part of the psalm, he's blaming the enemies that is making them, those people that are against God are making David's life miserable. It's their fault. Look at the way they are, God. Of course I'm anxious. Look at them. But let's see what happened if we keep reading the psalm. Now David says, examine me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts. See if there is in me any hurtful way, and lead me along the eternal way. Okay, this is good. He's admitting that perhaps the problem is inside his mind. David is taking responsibilities for his own anxiety. He's not going to put it on the economy. He's not going to put it on King Saul, who is trying to kill him. He's not putting it on anybody but himself. Examine me. Examine me. Those two words. Pay attention. Examine me. Those two words will set you free from 90% of the drama. Because some of you borrow drama trying to look into other people's life. Now, first, David is complaining about the way things are in the world. This bloodthirsty man and all this selfish politician and all this systemic corruption. God, do something about it. But then he says, examine me, know my heart, test me, know my anxious thought. You see, because nothing changes until you do. So, why am I anxious? Apparently, according to my non-scientific Google study, all of you should be anxious because that's what people are searching, right? So let me ask you this question. Have you experienced anxiety lately? We live in the age of anxiety, and this is before Corona hit us, right? Because remember, I planned this class to be taught way before we knew about COVID and all that, because I realized that even back then, people were anxious. So we live in the age of anxiety. I heard that the problem is that we are constantly bombarded by messages in the media that makes us anxious. Do you agree? Let's be careful because we're starting to sound like David. Right? Kill them, God. Well, maybe I'm getting it all wrong. David came to a place where he said, it's not what's happening out there that makes me anxious. It's what I allow inside myself to go undetected and unchecked that is making me anxious. It's not what is happening that is creating anxiety. It's the way I'm thinking about it. It's very important. Read it again. It's not what is happening that is creating anxiety. It's the way I'm thinking, the way I'm processing it. That's what is making me anxious. See, David says, see if there is in me any hurtful way and lead me along the eternal way. Now we know that when we think something long enough, it becomes a permanent resident, a citizen in our mind. David is saying, see if I've been thinking for too long in a way that has allowed anxiety to settle in my mind. So this session, it's all about answering the question, what makes me anxious, without mentioning somebody else's name. Or answering that question without mentioning something that is happening that is outside our control. Maybe there are ways in me that are making me vulnerable to the way things are and allowing me to remain anxious. Because it's not that we can never feel anxiety. The problem is when we stay anxious. So it doesn't mean that there won't be moments and seasons in your life where your hands will be shaking. But that thought should be a tourist, not a permanent resident. Remember that. Anxious thoughts, they should be a tourist, not a permanent resident. Start by getting rid of this terrible sense when things are going right and you can't even enjoy them because you say to yourself, nah, it probably won't last long. Have you seen how sometimes there are some people that they are always looking around every corner for bad things, and they're always finding ways on how bad things are going to happen next. And we have to stop thinking that way. Now, how do we prevent to be in that mindset? Here comes the 7 categories I mentioned before. Number 1, food. What is food? Something that nourishes, sustains, or supplies. Okay? So, There is no way we can take all what society is trying to get inside our heads and still have room for the peace of God. It's very interesting. I don't know, do you remember Facebook at the very beginning? There used to be this nice place where people used to share photos, and you would see photos from your family and friends, and your friends will see your photos, and all of a sudden it became this place where instead of finding photos, you find people going in eternal rants and people posting these angry articles, and we read all that and we take all that junk, and the same with the news and the medias and the newspaper and everything. We take. So then you're praying for the peace of God, but God doesn't have anywhere to put it. Your minds are too full of junk. You see, we start our days by checking our phones. What did they say about me? Or you keep scrolling, and then how can they afford that? Or you keep scrolling. Why did he get that promotion and not me? Etc. That's like food that you're putting in your system, and that's piling up to the point that there is no more room for anything else. That all you think during the day. But you see, it didn't supposed to be this way. And let me put an example with Facebook. When they started, it didn't supposed to become that. It was a nice place to share photos and stories with families and friends. And it went out of control. Of course we are freaking out. Of course we are, and then, we have people numbing themselves and drinking and smoking and getting stoned and popping pills. Of course we can't stop it. It's all about what we eat. So this is something very interesting, because usually the average Jew, or at least people I know around the synagogue, they will have sometimes store inspiration for 15-25 minutes a week if they come to synagogue on Saturdays, right? But then the internet users are now spending an average of 2 hours and 22 minutes per day on social networking and messaging platform. Do you see the difference between one and the other? It's amazing. So you want me to give you now inspiration for 45 minutes or so, when you're going to lay it over top of almost 17 hours of media that is designed to hardwire the way you think? What hope do we have to have peace if we don't make space, if we don't make place for it? It's a challenge. Yeah, you probably know this one. Garbage in, garbage out. But sometimes what we don't eat is just as fatal to our lives as what we do eat. So some people are on a spiritual starvation diet, and they don't even know it. We have faith that God cares for us and God provides us, but we don't feed that thought. And then we cannot access the strength that we actually possess if we don't feed it. So you have to take your intake level of positive things up and lower your intake of spiritual junk. There is no other way. Yeah, you can't out-train a bad diet. Something that I learned at the gym, the Radiant, matter of fact. If you don't improve the quality of what you put in your body, doesn't matter how many hours you spend in the gym, you still won't see any results. Amazing. This includes relationships, for example. Some of the people you have around are draining your faith and draining your peace. So you have to check your intake level from every side. But at the same time, read things that inspire you. Watch movies and shows that inspire you. Somebody told me once, you have to watch more Rocky unless the Titanic. You have to watch things with a happy ending and a positive ending, and not things that were everything that it can go wrong. No, you have to increase your intake of positive things and start little by little getting rid of all the junk that we put inside our systems. So if you feel weak and give in to anxiety, the first thing you have to do is check your intake. Number 2, priorities. It's an important one, because when you don't have a sense what is important in your life, when you don't have a sense of priority in your life and everything feels urgent, it's a sign that you haven't figured out what's really important. Yeah. So by saying yes to people who don't really matter, you say automatically no to those who do. By saying yes to people who essentially are using you in order to achieve their own goals, now you find yourself unable to give because you are a limited resource to the people that God has entrusted you the most. This is a very important thing to realize. You need to have a sense of priority. Then sometimes people ask me, but what if they don't like me if I do that? Well, sometimes when someone doesn't like you, it doesn't really matter. It depends who they are, actually. So don't get upset if someone doesn't like that you said no to them, because that no means that you already decided to say yes to someone more important. Think of it that way. Number 3, indecision. Yeah, this is a tough one because indecision is a prison. You know, if you suffer from this, if you suffer from indecision, because I know many people that they get anxious because they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. So if you suffer from this, I want to suggest an experiment. You know, do something like make 3 decisions before the end of the day. Just make the decisions. And if you make dumb ones, apologize, but make the decisions. You see, my God, sometimes I've seen people, 15 minutes to decide, pasta or pizza. Are you serious? Just do it or don't do it. This is the thing. Now we are making up more stuff to give us opportunities for anxiety, and we call it options. It's crazy. It's killing us. Too many options. And this is something that I noticed once. This is after I prepared this class, and then I came back and I adjust my slides after this. What happened, right? That I went to put gas to my car, and instead of paying on the pump, I went inside, and I was thinking, I just want gas. That I don't want a Slurpee. I don't want a car wash. I don't want a membership card. All I want is gas. There are too many options. So you have to learn to say no. You have to learn what your priorities are, because otherwise anxiety will kill you with that one. If you have to start saying yes to everybody, and then you're going to start suffering for when you cannot actually say yes to some people. And you have to learn to make decisions. But this is the catch. Now, this only works if you're living with integrity. This is a very important one, because sometimes my anxiety is a result of a compromise in my integrity. It's hard to have a peaceful heart when you're hiding secrets and feel like a hypocrite. It's hard to have a peaceful heart when you are having hope that your spouse doesn't check your phone to see certain text messages. It's hard to have a peaceful heart when you have three Snapchat accounts and the one your partner think is yours is actually a decoy. So now you're asking God to give you peace, but your life is split in so many different pieces. So the word integrity means whole. One person at all time. See, when I'm trying to figure out which mask to wear when I come out of the house, so no one will see into my situation at home, right? When there is the work me, and the after work me, and the Friday night me, and the Saturday morning shul me, and the Sunday at the lake me, it's hard for me to have peace when my foundation is cracked. I'm anxious because I might send the wrong me at the wrong place or at the wrong time. Here, everybody thinks I'm the nicest guy, but at home, I'm a monster, and I'm at work, I'm a crook. So the essential nature of who you are should remain unchanged in every situation. You're a spiritual person in a synagogue, but you have to remain a believer in the closet in front of your peers. Because if they know that you're religious, they might make fun of you. That adds anxiety. It's costing you your peace. So just be honest. Just be yourself at all times. See, the way David will say it. See if there is in me any hurtful ways. Be honest to God and ask God for help to be a whole person. Realizing that having multiple yous is a way to anxiety. Be the real you at all times. Number 5. Oh, who hasn't experienced this one? Competition. This is this is something that it's very common in this society, where we look at the world as an eternal competition. We live a life where we always have to be better than somebody else, and we cannot be happy and we cannot be at peace unless I feel that I am better than somebody else. And if I cannot be better than somebody else, I feel bad. I feel anxious because I want to find a way to be perceived that I'm better than another person, that I have more, that I can take longer holidays, that I can get a better position at work, that I can have a nicer house. Everything seems to be a competition. And when you live a life that way, of course you cannot escape from anxious thoughts. Of course not. We have to find a way to stop competing with each other. It's not about being better than somebody else, because each one has their own race in this life. See, this is interesting. I remember a story, something that happened with my father once, Alava Shalom, when he took me to the car races for the first time, and it was in Argentina, and we used to have these Formula One competitions, and he took me there. It was very loud. I remember I was miserable, but nevertheless, I love the cars. They look amazing, and I remember telling my father that my dream now was to have one of those to drive around the city with those wonderful cars. And he laughed and said, "Are you crazy?" I said, with the way the streets are in Buenos Aires, in Argentina, a car like that wouldn't survive 10 meters, because those cars are designed to go fast in a perfectly smooth surface, right? So you wouldn't dream with taking that car that it was equipped to be driven in that smooth surface to the streets in Argentina. You will probably have better luck with a Jeep or a SUV in that situation. Same happened in Winnipeg. You have different cards from different situations, and human beings, we are the same way. Each one of us is equipped with different sets of skills and talents that they are perfect. We have what we need to succeed in our own race. So we shouldn't be competing with somebody else, because other people have their own purpose in life and we have our own. So again, we have to work on ourselves. We have to look at what is our goal, our divine purpose, and focus on that instead of trying to compete permanently with somebody else, where you cannot be happy unless you're better than everybody else. This is something that you may remember, the story of Haman from Purim. With this guy, he had the nearly perfect life. He had a wonderful family, he had a wonderful wife, he had a wonderful job. He was the second in command of the largest empire of the time, but he was miserable. Why was he miserable? Because Mordecai will not bow down to him. Do you realize to what extremes we go when we live our lives with a competition mentality? We become like Haman, that you can have everything, but one thing is wrong because somebody else has something better than me in that aspect, so you cannot enjoy life. Now you go around anxious. So we have to stop competing and to start focusing on our own race. Number 6, imagination. I love this one. Because I believe that to beat anxiety, we have to reclaim our imagination. I want you to take back your most valuable asset. You have to take back that place in you that used to be playful and now is so stressed and panicked. You have to go back to that place that was meant to be your playground, where you could enjoy life, a place that's supposed to help you grow, to help see yourself doing great things. Instead, now it's a place where we construct our biggest fears. Instead of using your imaginations to experience God, we come out with every possible bad scenario life can possibly bring. Now you can't even experience God. Reclaim your imagination to the point that you can dream about something again, where you can think crazy thoughts, walking around singing stuff and making up words. That's what I see with my son all the time. I love his imagination, and I hope he will always keep it that way. And I believe each one of you used to do that. So we have to bring it back. But this is the interesting thing. There is no one imagination for good thing and one imagination for bad things. It's all coming from the same place. So it's the same imagination that serves opposite purposes sometimes. So you have to reverse the cycle of the way you are thinking about things. You have to reverse the cycle, so when you wake up in the morning, you stop checking, and I love this word, the fear cast. Stop waking up in the morning thinking how everything is going to go wrong. You're already imagining, right? Everything is going to go wrong. No. You see, I can talk Torah to you all you want, but if all you're doing is thinking about what might happen, you won't get anything about it. Dare to dream, and dream in colors. So this is the interesting thing, right? And this is the good news, actually. Because if you're good at worrying, then you're going to be great at dreaming positive things, because it's all coming from the same place. You just have to switch how you use your imagination. So, and there is one more source of anxiety I would like to explore with you, and this is something that I've noticed in the last few months, actually, is the isolation. You see, this is why so many people are experiencing even more anxiety in the times of Corona. It's because we feel isolated. We feel alone. For some, even more alone, because let's be honest, some people were living in isolation even before the pandemic hit. That feeling that you're alone is a dangerous source of anxiety. We need to find creative ways to connect with each other. And you see, this is the interesting thing, because we shouldn't insist in that there's only one way of connecting, because something that I learned during this last 3 months is people discover new ways of connecting with each other. Some people are doing great connecting in person, getting in groups, going out, but some people, sometimes they do better connecting online. And that's fine too. We all have to find our ways to connect with other people, but it's very important for us to explore ways where we can connect with others. Very important. So, why am I anxious? And I think the answer to that question can often be found in the middle of the very word itself. What am I talking about? Right in the middle of the word anxious is the letter I. Why should we feel lonely when God is always with us? Perhaps we never made the time to develop a relationship with God. I is in the middle of the word, but the word ends with us. We need places like Rabbi, like Shari Zedek, like many other places to remind people that they are not in this alone. That we are and there are multiple ways to connect with God and to connect with each other. So again, we talk about trust, but we also talk about food, priorities, indecision, integrity, competition, imagination, and isolation. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, this is the time that I will be going back to the chat to read your comments. I'm going to give you time to type your messages. I would like to hear from you. But anyway, thank you all for watching, for being there. I don't know how many people are connected, but I hope there is somebody listening to the message. Let's see. Is my chat working? Maybe it's not. Okay, I guess we don't have questions. That's good. That's good. That's good. Thank you, Pauline. Pauline, thank you, Jerome. Just thank yous, no questions. I guess nobody had questions yet. Thank you, Karen. Okay, good to know. Hi, Noel. Hi, Michelle. Thank you, Lori. Okay, thank you all for watching. It's really great. It's really great. Grief. Yeah, they're. What do you mean with grief, Karen? You're talking about grief as a source of anxiety? maybe. Well, thank you all. Thank you very much for watching. And again, if you have any more questions, you have my email there. You can always send me an email, and so we can get in touch many other different ways. Please stay safe and be blessed, and hope to see you soon. Bye for now. Have a wonderful day. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot. Tonight at 7 p.m., we have an international cantorial concert that we are going to do in this the same platform on the Sharizedek YouTube and Facebook pages. I contacted some of my colleagues around the world and I put together a post-Shavuot cantorial concert. So we are going to have Chazanim, we are going to have cantors from Canada, Argentina, Chile, Mexico, and Italy and the United States. Don't miss it, tonight at 7 p.m. Winnipeg time in this same platform that you're using to watch this. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.